business owner? Entrepreneur? Want to learn how online marketing can improve your business?
Your questions.
Our advice.
This is Not a Real Job.
Welcome to episode 64 of Not a Real Job, our podcast about advice, like about sex, what to put where and how often, lifestyle stuff, your personal brand, growth hacking, etc. I'm Joel.
And I'm Chris. And Joel, I think I have to correct you about the content of our show.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's about ethics in game journalism.
You know what? We've stayed out of Goobergate. I think it's time for us to get into it and really remind everyone that what might appear from the outside to be a misogynist hate campaign is actually about the vague term ethics.
Ethics. We need ethics in this world.
Yep. Absolutely. The recent tragedy that happened literally anywhere in the world. Also ethics in games journalism.
It's what's important. And I think that's why we are so strongly committed to it in our show here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad we finally covered Gamergate and literally every important element of it. Misogynist hate campaign, and there are dumb people out there who support it.
Oh, I didn't realize that was our stance.
Yeah. No, we've decided to take the right stance on this, Chris.
Oh, okay.
And there is only one correct stance.
The stance in favor of ethics.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. I'm really, really worried about ethics.
In game journalism. Because without ethics in game journalism, I couldn't tell you what would change with, let's say, more ethics or less ethics. I'm not really sure. I think you mean fewer ethics.
Fewer ethics, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to me. Certainly more than, let's say, the livelihood or safety of 50% of the population.
Now that we've got our priorities in order. Yeah.
Now that the men are talking.
You ladies, you come back in a little bit. We'll let you know when it's safe.
This is Man Talk Hour.
Oh, man. I hope it's
Talk
clear
Hour sounds like something creepy.
That can be part of our rebranding effort.
Yeah, Man Talk with Joel and Chris. Speaking of Man Talk, what are you drinking?
I am drinking... So I almost didn't drink because I think I'm getting sick. But I said, screw it.
Drink it away. Drink the cold away.
Exactly. So I've got a woodchuck hard cider here.
Do you think you have Ebola?
It's entirely possible.
Do you know Ebola is actually about ethics in games journalism?
That explains so much.
Mm-hmm. That's what the elections are actually about. You've got an election next week. And that's... Yeah. No, yes, you do.
That's news to me.
It's, midterms. They're big.
That's not even a joke.
November 4th, it happens. On, you could almost say a regular schedule.
Okay.
But it's about ethics in games journalism.
I don't think there are any midterms in my area.
You think you're...
No, I mean, I'm sure there are things, but nothing that is high stakes. It's usually...
Certainly not Congress or the Senate.
No, I mean, the places where I can vote tend to be Republican versus Republican, so I don't really have a good way that I can vote.
Now, where do the Republicans stand on ethics in games journalism?
I think we need to put the question to them. It's important.
Yeah,
anyway, we had a missing episode last week.
I remember recording it, and I remember saying it was one of our better ones, so you need to fill me in on how we had a missing episode.
It just never got uploaded.
Did I lose a week again? That happens sometimes when I go on one of my...
One of your benders.
One of my silly, fanciful benders.
One of your world-famous Joel benders.
Yeah.
No, we recorded the episode, and it was actually up on YouTube. So if you subscribe through YouTube at youtube.com/nargcast, maybe like /user/nargcast, something like that. But if you subscribe through there, you would have found the episode, but it just didn't get added to the show notes.
Now, do we have any subscribers, Chris?
On YouTube?
Yeah.
5.
Holy shit.
Well, hold on. 3, maybe 4 of those are affiliated with the show. So I'm not sure that they count. But to the rest of you, welcome.
To literally the other person.
Yes. You heard the episode. No one else did. But I just put it out on the feed this morning. So hopefully by the time you listen, you would have heard. Sorry it was late. So
do you
there
think
have it.
when I bring up how few listeners we have, that makes the few people who listen to the show think they're doing something wrong?
I think it makes us more approachable, maybe.
Right.
We don't want our high
My concern is that
status-
someone goes, wait, no one listens to this junk? Do I have to?
You can say shit, because I'm going to swear a little bit. I think this is the episode that is our ratings turning point.
Okay.
Just to warn you. No.
Are you going on a misogynist hate campaign?
Isn't that what this whole show is, Joel?
That's what it's been. This has been the official Gamergate podcast.
The one and only. I hope it's clear that we're completely and utterly joking.
About which part?
I don't know. Everything that we ever say ever.
We support whoever is most threatening to us, which I'm going to say is probably the misogynists.
Mm-hmm.
They
The
scare me a
patriarchy.
lot. The patriarchy, yeah.
Sure.
I
Well-
bought a PlayStation 4 today, and I did briefly consider not doing it because, I don't want to be associated with quote-unquote gamers because, if you align yourself in that.
I thought you were going to wait to buy the PS4.
I was, and then I was in New Brunswick, and I decided
Nothing better to do.
I deserved a little treat. A $700 treat.
Where in New Brunswick were you?
I was in Moncton. I'm always in Moncton.
Oh, okay.
Never not Moncton.
Is Dartmouth another place that we discussed as being a hellhole?
Yeah,
that
we
also in
discussed
New
that.
Brunswick?
That's in Nova Scotia. That is
Okay.
literally right across the harbor from Halifax, and it
Got
is
it.
where I was born and bred. How was I bred? I don't know. Anyway, it's where I was raised,
Mhm.
and spent much of my life, and then I moved to Halifax,
Your
right
youth
across
in
the
captivity.
harbor. Right, my youth and young manhood.
Mhm.
And then I had feelings about Dartmouth that were negative once I had, gone to the slightly larger town.
Is Dartmouth the place that had the carnival? Or
Yes,
is that still Halifax?
that creepy Ferris wheel.
Yes.
That was Dartmouth.
Okay. I
Dartmouth,
understand now.
yeah, that was Dartmouth from top to bottom, right there.
Got it. That
Just,
really summed it up.
Just a whole little fair put together by, people who probably have no idea what they're doing,
Makes sense.
which is now insulting to carnival folk, and I apologize.
Sorry.
If you're
Joel's an
carnival
asshole.
folk or part of a misogynist hate campaign, I apologize.
There we go. We are mending fences here.
Fending menses.
That's not a word.
Yep.
So I have a little rant that I want to go on.
You didn't ask me what I was drinking.
I'm not sure that I cared.
It's whiskey. Don't worry about it.
I mean,
Cardew.
our listeners, I think by now could have assumed as much.
Yeah.
Is it Scotch whiskey?
It's Scotch whiskey. Yep.
Whiskey.
It's a single malt Scotch whiskey. And it's good. And it's I believe it's pronounced Cardew. That's my Scottish brogue.
I think you're wrong, but that's okay. I have really no idea. I'm just saying words at this point.
Yeah. Okay, so go on your hate campaign.
Yeah, so my hate campaign. So this morning I woke up and I went on Twitter, as I often do when I wake up.
Uh-huh.
And I saw some tweets that it turns out that CVS and RiteAid, who are two large pharmacy chains here in the US, who previously, in some stores, not every store, but in some stores, they had support for NFC payments, which is the system that Apple Pay and Google Wallet use to make payments. Turns out that as of this weekend, now that Apple Pay has been available for just under a week, just over a week when you're listening, the volume or something changed within these organizations that they decided to have a blanket policy of disabling NFC.
Oh.
Because these retailers are part of a group. They are partner to an organization that is building a competitor to Apple Pay based around QR codes.
Oh, perfect.
Just what everyone wanted. And now, granted, CVS and RiteAid, the two companies in question here, were not official partners of Apple Pay, but it just happened that because they had NFC already set up.
It just happened that the technology was reasonably widespread and easy to use.
Yeah, exactly. The technology worked the way it was supposed to. And of course, before this, they had that support as well, but who uses Google Wallet? So it was never really an issue. But now these retailers are a partner to this group that is creating this competing can imagine. It also doesn't work with, it takes information on your purchases to, quote, make healthy recommendations for you, that kind of thing. So in other words, it's largely terrible. But this really bothered me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's entirely reasonable. That's an insane thing that someone would do. Now, is NFC the technology that allows me to just tap my debit card? And
I think that's something different. I think it's a related technology. We don't have that technology.
That's a different technology. That's a good technology, too. I like that one.
I was given a lot of strange looks whenever I tried to swipe my card, so... I
like just tapping it. We have it up here. It's incredibly widespread. You can do everything. Just...
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not allowed. I don't even know why, I guess for Americans, but otherwise I've never seen someone swipe a card. It's very strange. Yeah, that's upsetting. On a similar related note, I read that Amazon, shocking that Amazon is doing something creepy and annoying like this, their credit cards aren't going to work with Apple Pay or don't work with Apple Pay, and that this is something had done intentionally.
I mean, so that may be true. There are other... I'm less concerned about that because that isn't...
Right, because it doesn't affect you directly. It just affects
Well,
me.
no, there are things that affect me. So I have a Discover card, which I love 9 parts out of 10, except that they don't support Apple Pay and currently have no plans to support Apple Pay.
And Discover isn't taken by anyone.
Here they are. Canada, slightly less so. But that, to me, like, that card carriers or card providers have to make a conscious decision to opt in. It's not like CVS, who didn't have to do anything to support Apple Pay. It just worked. Then saying, actually, no, we're going to shut this thing off because we don't like it.
You know what, Chris? I've got a package of allergy medication that I bought when I was in New York from a CVS, and I'm just going to throw it out.
I think you should.
This is the sound of me throwing out the CVS package.
So that's one part of my rant, and I'm glad that Joel has taken a stand on this.
But I'm pretty stuffed up, so I'm probably going to take the pills first.
Okay, fair enough.
So I'm really just throwing out garbage at this point, but I think that's important too.
I'll take what I can get.
I'm not going to compost it.
So the other thing that is related to this is that, so if you're familiar with the new iPad Air.
And I am.
It has
the iPad Air 2.
The Air 2, yes. It has a feature on some models called the Apple SIM.
Do you kind of wish they'd named it Air Bud?
Now that you mention it, yes.
Yeah.
I absolutely think so.
AirBud from Apple.
Oh, man. Make it happen. Make it happen, Tim.
Just a golden retriever from Apple.
In a big box.
Yep.
So Apple SIM is...
The unboxing of your golden retriever from Apple.
Oh, my God. There'd be so many great YouTube videos.
It was so cute. He's so hungry.
No, they would provide him apples to eat, of course.
Oh, do dogs eat?
I have
Would
no
dogs
idea.
eat fruit?
You
know what dogs won't eat?
Chocolate.
Vegetarian sausage.
Well, I don't blame them. That's a terrible idea.
It's kind of impressive that they can tell, like,
that
and just
shitty.
are like, no, and no, thank you. Yeah. It really says a lot about society, Chris. But anyway, I'll let the listener ponder.
Sure. So the other rant...
Actually, it's about ethics and games journalism. Anyway, go on.
It's all about ethics and games journalism.
That's all it's ever been about.
All the way down. Apple SIM, the basic idea, just to keep it brief, is that instead of swapping out the SIM card when you want to change carriers, you can actually just do it on the device itself by like signing in and just switching to another carrier.
Right. That's super cool. Yeah.
Which is great. Now, granted, there's an argument to be made that Apple should just let you change the SIM card because it's going to make it easier for travel and all these different things. And fine, I get those arguments. But Apple's goal here is to provide a thinner product that is easier to use. And for that, I applaud them. However, Verizon Wireless has decided not to support the thing.
Excellent.
At all. So if you want a Verizon iPad, you actually have to buy it directly from Verizon. Apple's not even selling
fuck yourself.
them. Yeah, basically. So there are 3 carriers in the US that are supporting this: AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint. Now, here's the problem. The whole feature is designed so you can kind of switch at will and choose who you want to use as your carrier. If you go with AT&T as your choice, it doesn't let you switch. You can only one time, when you originally buy your iPad Air 2 with Apple SIM, you can only activate AT&T first. If you activate Sprint or T-Mobile, You can continue to switch between Sprint or T-Mobile, but AT&T is no longer an option. If you choose AT&T, you can no longer switch to Sprint or T-Mobile, and you actually have to return your iPad Air 2 and get a new Apple SIM in there. And there's no reason for this. This is the way that the technology was designed. If you use T-Mobile, you can switch to Sprint. If you use Sprint, you can switch to T-Mobile. It works seamlessly. This is, again, just AT&T saying, we don't really like the way that Apple's doing things, so we're kind of just not going to go with it.
Well, I mean, there's a deep existential panic that is happening within the carriers right now, that for once there is a company that has more sway in the world than them. So I can kind of get this reaction. It's what we call the death throes, Chris. A lot of things happen. Yeah, well, when something dies, what can happen is that they make a lot of weird movements that don't necessarily map to any outside rationale. And that's what you're seeing right now, is that it's like Gamergate.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a bunch of people who are used to having something their way. And then when someone else says, hey, no, I'd also like to play in this field, and here's why, what they'll do is they'll lash out in what I like to call a misogynist hate campaign. Now, I'm not saying AT&T is full of misogynists, but let's be real, probably.
At least one.
Yeah, and so we don't get sued for that word I can't think of right now. Not libel, but the other one.
Slander.
Slander. You know, that common word I couldn't think of.
We got there eventually.
Yeah, we got there. Let me just say, first of all, that I both support AT&T and whatever misogynist hate campaign they might affiliate themselves with. But that's what this is. It's panic. It's panic and stupidity. It's the same thing happening with CVS. And you know what? Good luck to them.
Yeah. So I guess the takeaway that
is you're switching to T-Mobile or T-Mobile.
I'm seriously considering switching to T-Mobile. Yeah, man,
is T-Mobile like T-Pain?
Not at all.
Okay.
But man, I this morning, so I really need a new phone because my iPhone 4S is just on the fritz, constantly just shutting off for no reason, that kind of thing. But
Leah's mother got a 5C today. I was there when she got it.
Congratulations!
It was a big moment.
That's
it
exciting.
Important. Yeah, the 5Cs are delightful looking little phones.
They seem to be, yeah. but Verizon is terrible.
I recommend upgrading to a 5C, Chris.
Okay, I'll consider it.
Yeah,
that's an
option. I mean, other than Touch ID, that's really the only feature you're missing. Yeah.
Why don't I just get a 5S?
I don't know. Do what you want. Do what you feel. I don't care. I'm just saying it's a nice phone.
Okay, good to know.
God.
I guess the takeaway here is
Jesus.
People don't be shitty. Like if you get into a position where you kind of control your market, or you're very fortunate to sort of, I don't know. This seems like such an obvious thing for people on the outside looking in, that AT&T and CVS and RiteAid and these other companies are just being terrible, and it's so frustrating because it would be so easy for them to not be terrible. So I guess, like, to you, as you pursue your own hobbies that you want to turn into jobs and things, to the listener,
okay.
The listener, man, like, do everything you can to not be terrible, because it's so easy not to be. It's I don't know. It just dumbfounds me that a company can act like this in this day and age.
I know. I somehow managed not to be terrible, and I have a demon inside me.
It's true. I've experienced that.
I'm not really sure what you mean by that, but
usually
message received.
Yeah.
Now, more importantly, we got a question. We did
indeed.
And let's just say we are more than willing to reverse our opinions on all of this. From AT&T to Goobergate to RiteAid to, I believe you called it CBS?
CVS. And I'm not willing to switch my opinion.
What if they sponsor the show?
Joel, it's about
ethics. Yes, thank you.
We've got our priorities straight. Come on.
Just like a games journalist, though, we will definitely change our opinion based on who's paying us.
Didn't I just say that I wouldn't do that?
No, we're on the other side of it, too.
Yeah, let's get it straight.
Do we have an ethics document on our website?
I think we should have an ethics
committee. Worry that we might get attacked by the Gloober haters.
I'm okay with that.
If we don't have an ethics policy, though. But how will they know that our reviews are objective?
You mean our reviews of products, or the ones that people don't leave us on iTunes?
All the video games we review.
Oh,
how will they know that they're objective and not based on something like subjectivity?
I think they should just know in their heart of hearts. Yeah.
You're asking them to look inward, which is obviously something that they are incapable of. Anyway, let's. We got a question from Al Sharpton.
Yeah. Go. So first, thank you, Joel Sharpton, for one, sending in this question, but also letting me know that the show file had not gone out. So thank you to you, Joel
Sharpton, #1 fan.
Sure. Congratulations.
You're out.
He also has a podcast called Pod on Pod, which you can find on Twitter, and the link is there as well, at Pod on Pod.
Now, Chris, I went through their episode archive, and I noticed a conspicuously absent podcast.
Yes. I wasn't going to say anything, but since you brought it up, yeah, what the heck?
Yeah, I know. Like, what are we missing, Joel?
Probably.
Is it sex advice?
It's probably quality content that we're missing.
Well, I'm going to start giving sex advice, whether people want it or not.
And we are officially explicit, folks.
All right, brace yourselves.
It's all down.
Cover the ears of your kids, and yeah, no, I don't know anything, obviously.
But you can find his show. It's teamprocreate.com/podcast/pod-pod.
Yeah. /nsfw.aspx.
Team Procreate.
Team TEAM.
Yes, Team Procreate. Procreate.
Then create with a K, just to make it kind of
it's
wacky.
C. It's a C.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the question that Joel asked, and this is in response to something that I tweeted. Just to give you a little context, I tweeted, I think I could run a pretty good music blog if I ever had the free time. And Joel responded, I've got about 25 or 30 of these potential projects. So it's a good question for you guys. How do you know when to chase whimsy? And that is a great question.
Yeah, I mean, please tell me the answer.
Yeah, anyone out there? No?
We'll wait. Yeah, I mean, whenever possible. I mean, there's probably something to be said for focus, but I mean, chasing whimsy and having a bunch of different projects, how else do you know whether you're going to like doing something or not unless you try a bunch of new things? I mean, between my writing, this show, career stuff, none of it would have happened if I wasn't willing to try every single goddamn thing that, tickles my fancy, so to speak. What a disgusting turn of phrase. I like my fancy to be tickled. I don't know. I don't think it's weird. Tune in for Joel's sex advice.
Oh, God.
Get your fancy tickled.
This is going to be quite the ride.
That's the tagline.
Quite the ride.
Quite the ride. Joel's sex advice, tickle your fancy.
Oh, man.
If you'd like to hear that show, I mean, I don't honestly. Look, we've been taking advice for entrepreneurship, for business, for marketing, for technology. Send us in some sex questions. Let's get into it. Let's make it hot.
I quit.
You can't quit.
It's too late. I'm out of here.
All right.
No, I agree with Joel. Try everything, but I think you also need to be very honest with yourself when a project isn't working out. So just as much as, you take on all these projects, give them a shot. When you're starting out, do them in the easiest, sort of quickest, cheapest, dirtiest way possible, just so you can get a feel for whether that's something you want to do. But also don't be afraid to drop a project.
I do just want to flag this with listeners in case they didn't notice, but everything you just said would also apply for my sex advice podcast. Can we release this twice? Can we put it on this is not a real job, and it's also on joelsextips.gov.biz?
Sure. We'll just record the same show and just different contexts for the show.
All that changes is the intro.
Otherwise, it is exactly the same and applies perfectly in both situations.
Now, Steve, I'm going to need you to edit in some real erotic sounds.
Nope. Don't do that. I overrule this one. I'm good about the sound effects, but not this.
Steve, you know what to do.
Oh, God. So yeah, when to chase whimsy, I would say always chase it, but also be just as quick and just as eager to drop a project that isn't working.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to be stuck doing stuff that you eventually might hate or is to no end. Now, granted, if you're only doing a few projects and one of them is not very successful and you want to keep plugging away, that's fine. But if you have a bunch of other projects that take up your time or other projects that you want to take up your time, you need to also be ready to trim the fat, as they say.
Yeah, you're not going to know what you like until you try a bunch of different things. You're not going to know what works for you. You're not going to know what's going to be the most successful. And most importantly, you're not going to know what's right for your partner unless you try.
It was so good for so long things. In there it goes.
Just tickle your fancy. Try it. You might be nervous about it, but some people are into it.
Just dump your content into different buckets. That's all you need
tickle,
to do.
Tickle, tickle.
Oh, God.
Chase that whimsy.
This has been our dumb podcast about chasing your whimsy and dumping content into buckets and such. Please rate us on iTunes. NotArealJob.com/iTunes will take
X-rated.
You there. Also, we are on Twitter, twitter.com/NarjCast, NARJcast, Facebook.com/NotArealJob, YouTube.com/NarjCast, and at Chris Van Patten and at Joel Kelly on Twitter. You can find this episode at NotArealJob.com/episode-64. Joel, what are you going to share with us this week as your product?
Well, Chris.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Actually, no. I was going to do some tech or something, but since we did start the show off talking about misogynist hate campaigns, I'd like to recommend a book I just finished reading called Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. It is a fantastic book of essays about reconciling your feminism with your interests and hopes and aspirations in history and life. And it's kind of her coming to grips with the fact that, she acknowledges that she's a bad feminist. She's not, perfect about the cause, but how feminism can be just a part of who you are and your life and everything that's good about it. If you're into competitive Scrabble, Hunger Games, 50 Shades of Grey, or deep, dark stories about one's personal history, there's kind of a few that go a little darker. I really recommend it. It's funny, it's insightful, it's challenging. Bad Feminist, Roxane Gay. It's a quick read, too. Check it out.
Cool. I am going to put in a backpack. I have a backpack. It's an Everest. I think it's called the Stylish Backpack, and we'll have the link, of course, in the show notes and at notarealjob.com/gear. It is a $13 or $14 backpack, depending on when you get it, and I love this thing. I travel everywhere with it. I have done recently a couple of trips. I did a train trip this weekend up to upstate New York. When I went up to Halifax for Joel's wedding, I used this backpack. It is a small, great little backpack and super cheap, so if it breaks, you can replace it. But I've had mine for like a year, and it's in great shape.
It was a smart looking backpack, Chris.
Thank you. For $13-14, depending on when you get it, you can't go wrong. Just a reminder that if
you can wear it with one strap, you can wear it with two. Depends on how cool you're feeling like.
I usually go with one because I'm always feeling cool.
Does it also have a little belt thing that you can strap around your waist?
No. Again, I look cool, not like a dork. Yeah.
Milhousian.
Sure.
Anyway, you've never seen. Chris has never seen an episode of The Simpsons.
I have not. I guess it's free online now, so maybe I'll have to dive in there.
You know what? I recommend it. There's one or two gems in that catalog.
In all of those hundreds. Just as a reminder, if you are interested in one of these products or want to see what we've recommended before, notarealjob.com/gear and also the show notes. And if you buy through those links in those places, it gives us like a point something 2%, and that helps us make the show even better. So
and also go to notarealjob.com/sexgear, and that's actually the name of my new podcast that's going out at the same time as this show. It's just slightly edited differently.
Yeah, so check that out.
Better, more erotic. Probably erotic. That's what I meant to say.
Heroic.
Sound effects. Heroic. Heroism. Heroin.
And lots of ethics.
It's about ethics in games journalism, Chris.
It's what matters.
Just tickle it.
Tickle your chasing whimsies.
Tickle your gamer.
There we
They
go.
love it.
So there we have it, folks. Enjoy, and we will talk to you next week.
I love you all. Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh.